starting up today. This is 10th University, and we created this podcast to find those rare people that have a rare mindset. I'm talking to just 100 people there in that 10th percentile. So today, man, I have Robert and I have Cornelius. Robert, we're in this shop right now. This is Break Fast Buffet, and I definitely appreciate you letting us even do this. You know what I'm saying? And Cornelius, appreciate you for your time, the owner of Farm Movement. And we're just gonna talk about like what is going on in America right now. What, like, for real, go ahead.
Well, you know, we are at the, for lack of better words, we are at the precipice of a 500-year boiling pot, you know, and it's a lot of emotions going on right now, a lot of tension in the air, a lot of actions that's, you know, transpiring that perhaps some of the elders may not agree with, but that's the state that we're in, you know, in the midst of this pandemic, in the midst of all of these global crises. You know, we're now having to face all of our dirty laundry that America has been trying not to wash for years now. Now we got to deal with it.
Yeah, like during this time, it's a little different because it's like because of COVID-19, there's no outlet. It's not like we can just watch basketball, pretend, you know, we can escape it, or put on football, or even baseball, shot baseball. It's like we just have to deal with the problem in front of us. So like, so I'm like, all right, so how do we deal with something this big, like a riot, like being on camera and someone dying? Like, what's your take on what happened to George Floyd?
I mean, I'll be honest, I can't watch it. The older I get, the stuff I just can't watch it.
Wow.
I don't know if y'all remember Rodney King.
Yeah.
But I'm old enough to remember Rodney King. I'm old enough to, when the tapes came out, to see that stuff, and I was angry then. And you know, growing up how I grew up when I moved to Polk County, there's a lot of racial division.
Yeah.
But there were certain things that kept us together, you know, sports, you know, things like that. But there was still a lot of racial division. And when the Rodney King happened, everybody was saying they have to be convicted. It's on videotape. You know, there's just no way they're going to be able to get away with it. And hopes was high. You know, even hopes for me, like, man, you know, because we always heard about it. We was always taught how to interact with law enforcement, how to deal with them. I have family that's in law enforcement, but we were taught about how to really deal with them because it's safer to come home than to be right.
Yeah.
And so, and we were trained, and when the verdict came out, it was very disappointing. It was just very disappointing. It was just like, how could this happen? But you had one side that felt they were just and they were right. And you had the other side that was fed up then. The riots happened. Now, it didn't happen to this. What happened was happening now, because they're rioting, they're protesting all over the world. And I think that's the shots out to social media, the way we deal with, you know, everything's on TV now. Everything's in front of the camera. And that's what's end up happening now, is basically you got the world seeing you now.
Yeah.
And so when the world's saying, hey man, enough is enough. Like, come on now, y'all gotta do better than this. And I think that's what's happening now, is that people are just fed up. Black people been fed up for a long time.
Very long time.
Very long time. And it's something that, you know, that causes people to snap.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you're being starved for such a long time, that's what makes death logical.
Yeah.
Because I'm not gonna go hungry or not be able to feed my family. And so what's ended up happening now is that a lot of more races, a lot more people are joining in and saying, look man, y'all gotta cut this out. That's my belief.
Right.
So I believe that this whole George Floyd situation is garnering that, which is just people are fed up with everything.
Yeah.
We can go back year after year after year, year after year after year, and I'm pretty sure all y'all have dealt with
Oh,
something that happened. You know,
Right.
I can't tell you how many times I was pulled over for the tail light. You know,
man, if I had $1.
you know, so I'm like, I'm tired. And I'm just kind of like, I don't say much because I'm angry, you know, frustrated. Because like I said, I got family in law enforcement that fought to be able to police our people, to be able to police all people.
Yeah.
And yet and still.
So for you, it was more like a thing of, because it was so identical to the Rodney King situation. It's like,
Except he didn't die. Rodney King didn't die.
except
right.
he didn't die.
Right. I didn't live to tell the tale.
Yeah, which
Yeah.
is even worse. That's
Yeah, he lived to tell the tale, but he didn't die. It was just, you just see all of this stuff happen. I mean, this is,
kind of had to limit how much you're taking in.
well, I just can't watch the video
Gotcha.
because I already know you already know what's happening.
Right.
You already know what's going on.
Right.
And I don't know if I was present, if I could stomach that happening. I probably would have to jump in.
Yeah.
That's a very valid point that you brought up. If I have an issue with, on one hand, it's a very beautiful thing that it is on video, it is documented, and you know exactly what happened.
Right.
But it wouldn't have never happened if the person who recorded it did something. And you had mentioned being trained to how to deal with law enforcement. You know, when I was a child, for a very brief part of my childhood, my father was actually a police officer until cops did something, shady, and he ended up, going separate ways. But I remember getting that talk that, hey, you're a big black man. You have to conduct yourself a certain way.
Yeah.
You cannot just your body language has to be a certain way. Your word choice. It's almost, you have to be submissive to an authority that you don't even really want to recognize. Because unless you're actually committing a crime, which, I mean, sometimes we are, technically you have minor traffic infractions, and okay, you pull me over for speed, if I was in the commission of doing something else and happened to get pulled over, I'm guilty. So in those instances, it's a little bit easier to submit to authority when you're guilty. But what about when you're not? What about when you just happen to be, walking to the corner store to try to get you, something to drink,
Right.
and you end up getting harassed? Or what if, you get pulled over for a tail light, and then they take everybody out the car. Now they got everybody face down in the dirt, and you don't know if they finna put something to the back of your head or not. You know, and you wasn't even the driver in the car. You just a passenger.
Yeah.
You what I got to do with the tail light? It ain't in my car. You 100% innocent, yet you got to submit to that authority. That's a very difficult thing to have to do. But we was trained, and generations of us have been trained that we have to do it. But I think that training is what made us so reluctant to step in and stop these acts.
Yeah.
Because we already submit to authority when it's us that's under, investigation, for lack of better words, that when we see another individual going through the process, we just, it is what it is. And I honestly believe that we have to we have to modify how we train us to deal with them. Because at the end of the day, we're all human beings. So yeah, you're an officer of the law, and I'm a regular civilian, so to a certain degree, you have some authority given to you by the rights of the Constitution that we all, have. But nevertheless, you have certain authority because of your position, and I have to respect that authority. But that does not mean that I have to be submissive to your abuse of that authority. And I think for too long, we've been trained to do that, that now people would just rather record it and watch it happen than stop it from happening.
Well, and I agree with you, and that's why I say I don't know what I would do if I was placed in that situation.
Right.
Because would you be dead too? Because it wasn't just, it was several officers there,
Right.
not just the 3 of them that was on his body.
It was
There
about 5 or 6.
about 5 or 6 around. So if you jump in, they
What are
gonna whoop you too.
Yeah.
So you have to, you have to make a decision like what to do. And we're not, and like you said, we're trained to blindly trust that all law enforcement officers are good law enforcement officers, which is not the case. We know that.
Right.
And that's how we train to deal. But there's a different rule for a black male than there is for anybody else with dealing with law enforcement.
Yeah.
That goes without saying. Even to this day, I don't look young. I'm old, compared to what I don't look like I'm in college and nothing like that.
Yeah.
And even now, if I get pulled over, if it's at nighttime, my lights go on, my windows go down,
Right.
my hands come up,
Hands on the dash.
hands on the dash, hands outside.
Yeah.
Because I don't want them to feel, because realistically, I don't want them to feel uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I'm just being honest. I
Yeah.
don't want them to feel uncomfortable. I'm going to talk to them a different way. I'm going to interact with them differently. And I've seen white people cuss out cops when they was wrong, and nothing happens to them.
Yeah.
But I understand I can't operate by those rules. So I say I don't know what would have happened.
Yeah.
Maybe I'd have got beat up by the cops. Who knows? Maybe I'd have sat there and watched.
It's like no one wants to be first. You know what I'm saying? It's like everyone's comfortable being second. Like the repercussions.
Well, if those repercussions could be deadly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody who sat around, they probably having the same conversation.
Yeah.
I should have jumped in, or I should have said something.
Yeah.
Or what could I have done different?
Yeah.
So right now it's just like, I don't know what the right, if I was in that situation, I don't know what the right decision was. Now, if I was in position on the ground, I would hope somebody tried to save me, because I don't want to be a martyr.
Right.
And that's what George is now. He's a martyr for everybody. All these unjust killings, all these, young men, young and old men disappearing, getting shot, getting killed, and cops saying, well, we acted under the law. We haven't had a conviction.
Let me ask you guys a question. All right. So if you've seen the video or you know what it's about or whatever's going on, you're gonna feel an emotion. You have to. It's either gonna be, you have to feel something. So it's like you're feeling this emotion and like people are pointing it, you know what I'm saying? Some of them in a healthy way, maybe even protesting, but it's turning riot. So like what would you tell those people that are rioting or feeling just pure anger? Like, how do you help those guys? Right?
Well, let's be real. There's 2 types of rioters.
Okay.
So you have agents. They're brought in to cause chaos. And in this social media age now, you're seeing people who are being caught
being agents.
They caught being agents.
Whoa.
So they're actually coming in, bashing stores.
Whoa.
And people are like, hey, you ain't a part of this. We don't want to tear apart the community
Right.
because we still need to go eat here.
Right.
Yeah.
And to a point that they're actually holding people for cops. So that's one type of rider that you have. You have that type of rider that's an agent, that's an informant, that's trying to come in and cause chaos to make the media say, hey, these thugs are this.
Yeah.
But and I think I saw this guy going in bashing windows.
Yeah,
They're like, hey, you
random.
wasn't even like everybody calling them out saying, hey, you wasn't even protesting.
Right.
Like you weren't out here to protest. All you did was bash the windows and run out. And that's gonna happen.
Yeah.
And for
What
those
would you say to other riders?
other riders, hey man, they already feel like they
Yeah, but when you
for them, it's sweet justice.
yeah.
And I'm not saying that either one. I'm not saying that they're right. you know, because I don't want my business destroyed. Nobody wants their business destroyed, their homes, their neighborhoods, or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it can do a lot of damage, you know, but they feel like it's sweet justice. And then there's a third one that, hey man, I just want this TV, you know, like
Just trying to come up.
I'm just trying to come up, grab me a couple phones,
Yeah.
some TVs, and some
I've been looking at this. Yeah.
yeah, and they just follow the
Taking
crowd,
advantage of the situation.
you know, and you're gonna have them all. The ones I'm concerned about the most is the informers.
Them agents, because those are the people who can potentially set us into a state of martial law. You know, those are the people who, because their actions are being blamed on the other parties, and nobody's holding them accountable. But because it transpired while these group of people were down here for this protest, now you're giving justification for bringing in the National Guard, you know, for this thing, like for this curfew that's in place. Because it's curfew far more than just here in Tallahassee. This is almost every state
Has curfew, yeah.
nearly has a curfew to varying degrees. You know, I was born and raised in Atlanta. The curfew up there is like 9 during the week and 8 on the weekend. You know. I have never known the city of Atlanta to shut down.
That's before it get dark, man. It's still got some light out there.
I have never known my city to shut down anything before 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay, so you say there's people in the house, you don't know, at times that they accustomed. I mean, it's some people that just getting off work, you know, trying to go out to secure dinner. I know me and my family, we eat at 8:30. So unless I had already prepared to cook, guess I'm gonna have to cook because I can't go out if I was in Atlanta right now.
Yeah.
So it's because of actions of these agents that's being blamed on, you know, some of the more, I guess, more righteous rioters. Because in my personal opinion, I can't condone thievery of any degree. Whether it's for justice or whether it's for personal gain, I cannot condone stealing, you know, and looting. You know, that's an act that I feel is beneath humanity. But I understand, you know, when you come from poverty, when you've been, as you mentioned, when you've been starved, I'm talking about you really hungry. You know, you ain't ate in about 2 weeks. Minimum. Yeah. About 2 weeks minimum. And you happen to walk by and you see a loaf of bread that's kind of hanging out the back of the truck. I can understand you snatching that loaf of bread. I might not condone it, but I can understand it. You know, and you have a lot of people who we as a people, we have been starved of justice. We've been starved of being treated as human beings. We have been treated as second-class humans for the last several centuries. We have been, you know, belittled and berated. We've been abused and neglected. And at some point, you know, you're going to get tired of that treatment. They lashing out.
I think also on what you were saying is usually when riots happen, and I've seen them. I remember the St. Pete riots when that happened. I don't know about the Tampa riots, but the St. Pete riots when the cop shot the guy in the car.
Yeah.
You know, and other riots, what ends up happening is law enforcement provides a perimeter. Mm-hmm. Because what's happening is usually the riot is condensed to a certain area.
Right.
I think what's happening now is that with white people joining in and saying, man, they don't know what area to do. Because white people are joining in birth. White people are joining in and saying enough is enough. And then what's happening in other countries, this one event, even though it's been, you know, blocked with other events, you know, we can go through all the names of men and women of color, of black people who died, you know, to get us here. I think the country's now saying, man, you got to do something. And I think our current leadership in office,
It's not helping.
well, it's not helping, but he's talking against fundamental rights that right wings they believe in. They believe in less government. So when you start talking martial law, you ain't getting no right wing people to start talking about anything, because that goes against their rights.
Yeah.
Because invoking government is something that they never want.
Right.
And that's why he slid in one of his speeches, where we may invoke martial law, but we're still going to protect your Second Amendment right, the right to bear arms. So, because he's trying to play every side, but
Please both sides.
yeah, you can't do it. And realistically, for those law enforcement officers who go out there and say, man, we understand, we mad too.
Mm-hmm.
Those cities who are doing that, they don't have problems.
Yeah.
They're not having issues.
I started. The
But why would
first
you
thing
have
that-
an issue?
First thing that pops in my head is Flint, Michigan. Flint, Michigan, and they don't show this on the media, but basically the police chief and the head protester, both of them walking side by side, hand in hand. You know what I'm saying? And both of them was like, I'm gonna put down this bat and I'm gonna put down this microphone, and we just gonna. I'm mad too.
Yeah.
They don't show that.
No, they won't. You will never see those.
No.
Because, but that's happened in a lot of places.
Yeah,
Because all over there,
Vegas had something happen like that in Vegas, out there in California, Memphis. It's happening all over it's happening all over the country. But see, we live in the South, right? And the South has been and will continue to be racist. That's just what it is. That's the institution that this part of the country was founded upon. Slavery wasn't that big up north. So for your more progressive states like Michigan, who've been accepting, people are people, human rights. Of course you're going to see that unity.
Yeah.
But down here, where everybody in this room can be referred to as a boy, even though you're a grown man, I'm a grown man, they'll call you boy.
Yeah.
Or even something more derogatory than that. Where your police commissioner, your sheriff has looked the exact same for 50 plus years, and you may have had a variation in there once or twice, but in general, you've had this consistent face. Where legislation hasn't. I mean, hell, this laws in the state of Georgia ain't changed since 1880s, bro.
Let me.
It's institutionalized.
I still want to give people some type of hope that's feeling their bad way, because with no leadership, with no guidance of where they're pointing that energy,
Right.
you just gonna go rampant. So like, how could a person help? You know what I'm saying? How could they work on this situation? First thing popping in my head is like petitions. But like, what else? You know what I'm saying?
In my humble opinion, there are three maneuvers that American people need to get behind today. We need to create a regulatory committee for law enforcement outside of law enforcement. Police officers, everybody knows that police regulate police. Right? They have IA, they have their own divisions that's supposed to uphold them to the standards of the badge. Keyword is supposed to.
Yeah.
We need to create a citizens regulation committee that says we know what your duties, what your regulations, and what you are permitted to do. If you conduct outside of these parameters, we will hold you accountable. I think if the people, because truth be told, they're civil servants. Law enforcement is supposed to serve the citizens. The citizens are not supposed to serve law enforcement. So if we could create some type of institution that can hold them accountable for their actions, and that same institution had the ability to bring them up on legal charges if need be, I think that'd be a great deterrent for some of the foolish behavior that happens.
one.
That's one. My second maneuver is we need an African union. We need to unionize, just like, you know, teachers have a union, just like construction workers have a union, you know, bankers have a union. The Chinese, they have it's very unspoken, but they have a community that they organize and communicate with each other. The Hispanics do the same. We need to unionize. We need to have a centralized African American committee and staff and representation that's going to advocate for our agenda on a daily basis. And then thirdly, it's the same solution folks been telling us for years, but we really need to do it this time. Go out there and vote. Because if we stop allowing certain legislation to get passed because we didn't vote on it, if we stop allowing certain people to get put in office because we didn't vote against them, that would help some of these problems. Because these judges, you know, these your aldermans, your mayors, your governors, all of that, all of that, we have the power to pick. And too often than not, we do not go out there when it's time for election, and we do not exercise our American right to vote. And it's high time that we stop saying, voting not gonna change nothing, no way. Or what's the point of voting? They're gonna put who they want to put in office anyway. They can't do that if everybody exercised their right. They will not be able to just blindly get over on people. If everybody was out there exercising, we need 100% participation in voting. Whether you are African American, whether you are Hispanic, whether you Asian, and even if you are white, we need 100% representation so that these people in office, you can truly say were put in there by the people that they are meant to serve.
Gotcha.
I think those.
Yeah, that's solid right there.
I think that on top of that is really gaining economic power.
Right. Right.
So voting can really matter.
Right.
You know, voting matters a lot when you got money behind it. When you put your money behind it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's how agendas get pushed. That's how bills get slid in, or on top of a bill. And you wonder why did this happen? It's really an economic thing.
Yeah.
If you look at this area, in a lot of lower social economic areas, the people who live here don't own property. Right? Yeah. And so if you're able to own the property, then you have more of a inclination to actually care about what goes on.
Right.
To say, hey man, I need you to run. I'd rather you run because I'm gonna put my money behind you. You're not crooked. I'm just trying to push issues that are beneficial, for us in our area.
Right.
And a lot of that stuff happens, but we're not a part of it. So then that's why when you say, man, people say voting doesn't work. Well, no, it doesn't work because you ain't put nobody there. You ain't put no time in it. You ain't put no money behind it. So of course I ain't gonna listen to you.
Right.
I can't tell you how to run your business if I ain't paying for your business.
True.
I can't tell you if I'm not invested in it. But if I'm invested in it, then you have to at least listen to what I got to say.
Yeah.
And also I think on top of that, we have to retrain law enforcement.
Amen.
They are some of the worst trained, to be dealing with life or death issues every day.
Yeah.
That's what they're faced with. It's a tough job. I'm not saying I can do it. I'm not saying I'm not trying to make light of what they do because it's a lot. They protect and serve, and I think some of them are good people, but I think some of the training is subpar to what they really need to be. Learning how to de-escalate situations, identify mental illnesses quickly, to see people in distress.
Again, I appreciate you guys coming together and ping-ponging off each other. And again, for Robert letting us, be here at Breakfast Buffet and letting us have this type of productive dialogue. Hope to see you guys again, and appreciate the video. Yes, sir.